Hello everyone, it's Luli, and today I'll be talking about Otome games that are available on the PC. So basically what I've done is I've gone through Steam and picked out major titles that, really pop in my mind, and I'm going to be sort of talking about them based on like the reviews I've seen as well as my own experiences, because some I have played and others I have not. But note that before I start, although I would not consider any of what I'm going to include in this video as spoilers, I'm aware that what you consider spoilers and what I consider spoilers may not quite align, so if you're incredibly sensitive and you don't even want to know what the characters look like, then I would swiftly move on. But anyway, let me start. So the first one that really came to mind, and this is because this is a game that was my first ever Otome game pretty much, is Hakuoki. Now this game is about a main character. It's based in the Bakumatsu period, and it's basically this main character, Chizuru, who is trying to look for her father but encounters a certain situation and ends up having to join the Shinsengumi. And the reason why, this one really leaves a sort of impression in my mind is that it was my first Otome game, and I was playing it and I didn't expect bad endings to be so sad. Bearing in mind, this game is split into two. One is Kyoto Winds and the other is Edo Blossoms. So what you do is you play Kyoto Winds first and then you play Edo Blossoms second. And Kyoto Winds isn't even supposed to be that sad. All the drama happens in Edo Blossoms, but because I had like zero immunity on bad endings, when I played Kyoto Winds, I was like, oh my god, this is so depressing. I just kind of felt depressed for several days afterwards. But yeah, it's historical fiction. The amount of kind of romance you get in it is relatively small. I guess that's kind of typical for historical fiction, so note that, bear that in mind. However, it is quite interesting. Some people have noted that it's a little bit repetitive. I suppose you kind of expect that with the same wars. However, it has received quite a lot of attention because it's like a lot of people sort of saw it being ported from PSP to PS Vita, and now it's on the PC as well. It's accessible for quite a few people. I think it's also available on the phone. I think I played the demo on my phone before purchasing it because this is when I wasn't so sure about Otome games, and yeah, so it's quite widespread in being known. However, it is interesting because although it's historical fiction, there's certain supernatural elements. Now I won't go into too much detail because I feel like that would be kind of classed as spoilers, but those supernatural details do add a certain oomph to it, at least from my personal opinions. However, I have not played Edo Blossoms. I have only played Kyoto Winds because, I felt traumatized by I should probably go back to it. People have told me I should be fine because Birushana Senki, which is a game that's being released in the West a little bit more in the future, I've heard is more sad, and that didn't make me cry. I actually enjoyed that. So a lot of people are like, just play Hakuoki, Luli, it'll be fine. So I do need to play it at some point. But yeah, I'm just a tiny bit hesitant. I guess the pros of this game is that there's so many completable characters as well. I believe there's like 12 in total, so you've got 12 characters that you can experience the roots of, and I think that's quite good for your money, if you know what I mean. And especially on Steam, you have all these Steam sales, so if you buy it when the price has gone down, it's just great. So that's a good thing. Another thing is if you like Japanese sort of aesthetic and historical fiction, I guess you do learn a couple of things. Of course, they have changed a few things here and there to fit the story, but if you like that feel and if you like that sort of thing, then it's perfect. Note, however, that I would probably not recommend it to those who really want lots of romance, because I've heard there's like zero Steam and the romance, it's sort of there, but not like to the extent a lot of people appreciate. Also, if you think 12 characters is too many and you just cannot be bothered for that, then I guess that turns into a con as well. Remember that it is split into two games. The very first one is called Kyoto Winds, and then the second one is Edo Blossoms. So you need to play Kyoto Winds before you can continue with Edo Blossoms. Bear that in mind, because you don't want to make that mistake where you buy the second one, then you're like, oh, just bear that in mind. Now the second one that comes to mind is Amnesia Memories. This one I have played all routes of. I actually really like it. I consider this a summer game because it's all based in summer, and basically it's that there's this main character who is nameless, shall we say. It's one of the very few main characters that does not actually have a name. I think she's called like Pauli apparently, but it's not like official, I don't think. But it's about this main character who of course has lost her memories, you know, it being called amnesia and all, and you start the game and basically this fairy appears and he's like, oh hey, you may have forgotten your memories because I bumped into you or something, and you talk to it and you're like, oh, who are you and all of this, and you then choose out of 4 worlds. So you've got, you know, heart, diamond, club and clover. And what's interesting about this game is depending on what world you pick, you kind of choose that character to be your date almost. And what's even more interesting is that each of these worlds are different dimensions. So when the main character enters that world, there will be the same characters, but the relationship will be different. So in one game, character A might be like your best friend, while in another world, this character A will be like your love rival and be a bit mean, if you know what I mean. So it's interesting seeing those same characters have like different relationships with the main character. Now there are, I think, 3 parameters. And there's sort of things like their suspicion on the fact that you've lost your memory or not, and things like that. And in certain routes you want to make sure they don't realize that you've lost your memories, or others it doesn't really matter and other parameters matter. Unfortunately, there is no sort of love catcher so symbol to indicate that, you know, you've got the answer correct or, you know, right for the good ending, so it can be a little bit confusing. I kind of gave up after the first 4 routes because I was like, you know what, I'm getting a bit tired of constantly checking the status message, so I just used the guide in the end. But it's great because of this eerie feeling you get, like when you're playing the game. Honestly, like I was in a state of paranoia. I was like, I don't know what it is, but with the first character, I was like, oh my gosh, is this a good person or a bad person? Can I trust them? Because, you know, the main character is portrayed to have like no memories so well that you just kind of can't help but worry whether the relationship between the main character and that love interest was what they describe it to be, or is like actually what people think it is. So you're like constantly worrying, and you have to worry all the time about what you say or don't say, because that can obviously affect whether they suspect you or not. It's just this thriller feel. There is also this one character that appears where his expression suddenly changes, and it gave me like creeps, you know. I felt like a shiver go down my spine. Like I thought, oh my god, I still remember it being like 2 a.m. in the morning or something, and I was playing it, and this character's expression just suddenly changes to be something really creepy, and I'm like, I'm gonna put this down so that I don't have nightmares. So yeah, there is a character like that. But normally I'm scared quite easily, but like there's no jump scares or anything. I just wanted to let you know there is a character that gives off a really scary expression that got me every single time. But yeah, there are 5 routes, 4 that you complete, and then 1 that's like a hidden route that you can complete after you completed the other 4. But yeah, it's really good. I think it's one that really left an impression. Just the chilling feel. All the characters look eccentric as well, with the most certainly interesting fashion sense, shall we say. So, you know, but it really did a good job giving this like eerie, creepy feel, and if you're into that, I would highly recommend it. So the pros would be, you know, experiencing the amnesia, feeling that paranoia, you know, can I trust this person or not, all of that stuff. The romance was kind of there. I don't remember there being too much steam, but there was like, you know, romance there where I thought, oh, this is really nice, I like that. And there is a certain character that is, you know, one of my favourite tropes, and if you know, you know. Now the cons would be that the main character is very quiet, so if you prefer a main character that, you know, is very active and says her voices opinions quite a lot, then you may not like this game, because literally this little fairy buzzing around always does the talking. Like, the main character barely says anything. Also, if you don't like lots of bad endings where the character dies left, right and center, then this may not be the game for you, because it's literally like, you know, you pick one option and then it's like, oh, she died, of course she did. You know, it becomes like normal after a while. So if you don't like that, if you don't like creepy things, I would not recommend it either, because it is really creepy. Like, I absolutely adored it, but at the same time I was like, you know. Now, next up is Taisho Arizu. Now, this game I have not personally played, actually, but I have heard really good things about it. And so it's about this main character who's kind of lost for some reason or another. She encounters this guy called Alice, because this game is basically fairy tales, except the, you know, Snow White and Red Riding Hood and all of that are the love interests and not female, and which I think is an interesting concept. And basically she encounters, I guess, the male counterpart of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, or at least that's my guess. And I think she ends up dragging him into this like world that is the fairy tale world. And I think the objective of each route is for the main character to try and save the love interests from whatever fate they end up. So you're trying to essentially make it so that they all live happily ever after, you know? And I believe each sort of, it's available unlocalized on the Switch, but it's only available in PC if you want the localized version. And each episode, I think there's 5, you need to double check this for me because I checked and then I've forgotten. Oh, my bad memory. But each episode has 2 characters, apart from the final episode where it's just Alice that you can complete. So yeah, I think out of all the ones I've seen, this one piques my curiosity the most. Like, I like the concept that you're the ones trying to save these fairy tale characters. Like, I think there's Cinderella, there's Red Riding Hood, there's Snow White. Like, I think it's quite fascinating to have allies that are like fairy tale characters. I don't know, maybe that's just me. So I guess the pros for this game is, if you like fairy tales, obviously, if you want a main character that's, I guess, active and trying to help these characters, great. I'm not so sure about how much romance there is in Japan. I believe it's a Settle B rating, which is 12 years and above, which to me suggests there's not like a huge amount of steam or anything. But I think, yeah, I'm really not sure about that. You need to look deeper into the reviews, but from what I can tell, I think there's not like steam or anything. Maybe there's some romance. I'd also recommend it to those who want, I guess, like, I don't know, something more supernatural and sort of more, you know, I think it kind of gives off a twisted feel as well in some routes. So, you know, I think all in all, it looks quite promising. This is probably one that I'm, yeah, definitely most interested out of all the PC games that I've seen so far. However, the cons, what I guess would say, is if you're looking for something that's like super Eastern, like Hakuoki or something, and if you want like a quiet main character, I guess, I don't know, like if you want some steam, I suppose it's not exactly recommendable either. But, you know, personally, I think this is definitely one that I'm most curious about checking out, definitely. But anyway, so next up is Mafia. Again, I have not played this game. However, I have heard good things. Some people have said that they absolutely adore this, while other people have been a little bit more iffy about it. But basically, it's about a main character who, of course, again, doesn't have any memories. This seems to be a recurring pattern in Otome games. But yes, of course, she doesn't have any memories, and what happens is, it seems very dramatic because it's like a Mafia game, but what happens is she wakes up without her memories, and then suddenly this person who's been ordered to kill her comes along. However, she gets nicely rescued by the boss, I think, of this Mafia group, and so she gets taken away by this mafia group, and I guess the relationship sort of sparks from being in this mafia and all of this. I've heard the main character isn't exactly the brightest bulb, so that may be off-putting for some. However, I've heard the Steam levels are relatively high. Like in Japan, it's rated 0D, which is 17 years and above. And I have heard there's Steam in it. So for that reason, I kind of want to try it. Also, it's Mafia. I don't personally think it's as good as Pure Fiore, at least not when I look at Japanese reviews, which is what I tend to rely on. However, I think, you know, if you do like that Mafia feel, if you like, you know, action and you don't mind some blood, then Oz Mafia would be a good game for you. It just... However, there is one negative thing I read, and it's that there are some loading screens that take forever. Now, I don't know whether they're exaggerating or not. This is a review that I looked at on the Steam website, or, you know, the applications. I don't know the exact details, but if that's really off-putting for you, then maybe it's not recommended at all either. But the pros, as I said, is there's lots of Steam, there's lots of Mafia stuff, which if you're into that is great. I think it's based kind of in Italy as well, like Pio Fiore. Now, I would, however, not recommend it if you don't care about Steam, you just want like something a bit more mild, or you want a main character that's, you know, smart and all of this. I think it was Oz Mafia where I've been told that the MC says some really dumb things. So bear that in mind. And yeah, I guess that's Oz Mafia. Now next up is Nightshade. This game is actually available on the Switch. I just didn't include it in my previous video because I kind of focused on the others. But I thought it's definitely a noteworthy title, and some people did comment in my other video as well, sort of, you know, oh, I'm surprised you didn't include it type of thing. So yeah, I'm including it in this video. It's available on PC as well. It's a kind of a ninja game. The main character is basically the daughter of the head of this ninja clan called Koga. It's kind of it's based after during the Sengoku era, and there were these two ninja clans, the Iga clan and the Koga clan, and I guess they kind of battled it out. But then Oda Nobunaga basically eliminated all of the Iga clan, which is why there's only Koga left, and the very few Iga clan members that were left over get incorporated into the Koga clan. And I think it's the relationship between the daughter of the boss or the leader of the Koga clan, you know, ending up like blossoming with other characters, whether it be those who were in the Iga clan or those in the Koga clan. I have heard there's a little bit of repetitiveness in this. So there is that to note. I'm not sure about Steam levels. I think it's kind of like medium. But I have heard quite a few good things about some characters. So I think it's definitely noteworthy. So yeah, I guess the pros is if you like the Eastern aesthetic and all of this, then great. If you like ninjas, great. You know, all of that. However, if you're looking for something more Western or, you know, more kind of fairy tale-y, then maybe not, because this is all about, I think, learning about the politics almost within this ninja clan and within the government and all of this. So if you're into that sort of thing, perfect. Now, next up, I think a lot of people know of this one, is Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly. Now, this game I have played, and I personally was not sure how I felt about it. It's about a main character that, guess what, loses her memories. And so it just makes me laugh because I swear there's been like 3 games so far that the main character loses memories, yeah. But she wakes up in this haunted mansion, clueless about what's going on, and by haunted I mean there are these little monster things that appear and try to hurt the main characters, as well as the love interests that have also lost their memories and are trapped in this mansion. And you know, it's interesting because you again feel that sort of amnesia thing. I didn't feel it as much as Amnesia Memories, but it was still that eerie feeling. It's in this haunted mansion, and they learn that the main character and the love interest kind of need to work together. There is a safe space where they, you know, end up using as their residence. However, you know, there are these monsters wandering around, and they discover that if you kill those monsters, these like they can collect something. I can't remember the details, but it's like kind of gonna help them escape the mansion type of thing. I think what I enjoyed about this game is that each character kind of starts remembering their memories, including the main character. Like, the main character only finally learns about all her memories right at the end of the game, but it's interesting almost finding out these little puzzle pieces, and you kind of think, oh, okay, so that happened, and then at the end it all finally comes together and you just sort of learn everything, and you're like, wow, that was a great experience. So personally, I was not a huge fan because there was this flowchart system where, you know, there is this main story route, however you had to complete these side story type things. They're like almost bonus episodes that you have to complete a few of in order to unlock the next part of the main character, main story. And I totally understand that those sub-stories are probably there for you to learn more about the main character and like the love interest and all this, but I found it a little bit annoying because I'm not a huge fan of bonus stories. I find them a tiny bit boring because I care a lot about, you know, the main story and all of that. So that did annoy me. Also note that I would highly recommend using a walkthrough or a guide to play this game because I played it blind. And the order in which I played the characters was just kind of all over the place. I ended up in like weird routes that you probably would have been better off on later down the lines, and it was all a bit messy, and so I would highly recommend using a guide or walkthrough. Otherwise it will almost feel like you've got the wrong puzzle pieces in like the wrong order, and I haven't really felt this about like other Otome games where there is, you know, a supposed important route order type thing. Like, I haven't really felt that much about this, but because this is so much about the main story, like learning bits in the wrong order just felt a little bit clumsy and weird. So definitely bear that in mind for future reference if you do choose to play this game. Pros would be that it's got this gothic feel to it, and it's great, especially at the end when you learn exactly what happened and everything about the main character and the love interest. I think it's brilliant. You know, it just, and it's so emotional. Like, it was a game where I was feeling a bit like meh about it, but right at the end I was like, I'm so glad I played this until the end because it was just so emotional. The artwork is beautiful. However, I would not recommend it if you don't really like bonus stories and just can't get over that, you know, and find that sort of boring. And also the romance and Steam, I think there were a couple of routes where I was like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that, but most routes, it was relatively tame. So if you're looking for something with a bit of Steam, then it might not be the best game for you, but if you really care like about the story and you're like plot heavy, then I would recommend it to you. And the next one is kind of related to this, the one that I just talked about, and it's called the Psychedelica of the Ashen Hawk. This one is like by I think the same artist, and it's kind of similar. It's about this main character that was born with a sign that she's a witch. She lives in this village where there's a lot of superstitious beliefs and all this, and there's like a fight between two clans, like there's conflict or something, and it's her having to live through this life without like telling everyone about this fact that she's a witch, because I guess if people find out it will cause quite a bit of problems. Now, I have not played this game, so I can't really comment too much on it, but I have been told that if you enjoyed the Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly game, then play this one as well. And they also mentioned that, you know, it would be better if you play Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly before you play Ashen Hawk. So that's something to note if you do choose to get this game. And I think the artwork is sort of pretty and like, you know, nice, like the Black Butterfly game. So, you know, if you enjoyed that, then I would probably definitely buy this game as well. I haven't really sort of thought about playing this one yet, because Psychedelica of the Black Butterfly, although I really enjoyed the end, like the bonus stories, I mean, it's just not for me. Like, I really struggle with that. And also there's this gameplay element in Psychedelica where you've got to like shoot these butterflies, and I think some people really struggled with that. I didn't really care that much because I played it on the PS Vita, but I think the controls on the PC are a little bit more, you know, difficult and the pain. So yeah, definitely bear that in mind. And so yeah, that's Ashen Hawk. Now I'll quickly mention 2 games that I have previously spoken about in my recommendations for Switch video that is also available on the PC. This includes Steam Prison, which is about a main character that lives in this world where there is a complete separation and you know, I guess conflict and tension as a result of it between like the upper sort of class, I guess, that live in this lovely world compared to those who live in the slums, and I've heard the story is really good. Another one is Buster Fellows, which is about a main character who can go back in time but as someone else's body and within a set amount of time, and it's her experiences living with a bunch of, I guess you could just call them as criminals, but like legal criminal, not quite, yeah, but you know, it's about a main character that lives with these bunch of guys which are kind of a bit shady shall we say, and sort of learning about injustice and all this. Now I have spoken a bit more detail about these games in my previous videos, so I would kind of like look at that if you want to learn more about it. I have made a review on Buster Fellows which is a bit more in depth, so yeah, bear that in mind. But those are also available on the Switch as well as PC, so that's why I'm just gonna quickly mention them and put that out there. Now, PC games are great in that there are so many indie Otome games as well. It may not even be on Steam. It could literally be on like their own website. I have looked through a couple. I have one that I need to make a Let's Play of soon. So I think, you know, I just wanted to put that out there, that though I have in this video mentioned like more of the big names, there are quite a few good indie company Otome games out there that I would really check out. I need to check them out myself. It's just my backlog for my Switch games is ridiculous. Like my PS Vita backlog is like this long. So it's gonna take me a while before I start looking into indie games. But if you are kind of twiddling your thumbs looking for another Otome game because you've gone through so many of them, I would 100% recommend indie games as well. So that's just something I wanted to also note at the very end of this video. But anyway, as always, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos. Bye!